So as you guys probably know, earlier today we finally got the Venom showcase. And every time For You actually decides to finally showcase or reveal the fruit they've been working on, that means the update's usually coming very soon because he's kind of trying to build hype for it with the showcases. But if I had to guess, there's a lot more than just Venom coming in update 8. Or at least I feel like there needs to be in order to really save this game. Because as you guys probably know, GPO, ever since it went free in update 6 or whatever update it was, the game's been going downhill, at least players wise. But this is finally like GPO's legacy game. And the reason I say that is because people have been asking for Impeldown forever, and this is the update we're finally supposed to be getting Impeldown. But before we go into detail about Impeldown, let's look at the fruit since we just got Venom and discuss possibilities for other fruits. So as you guys know, they did a great job on Venom. It's got 2 movesets, which means it has 2 modes because it has its human mode where it's got all the human moves, and then you could turn into your demon mode when your bar thing fills up, and then once you turn into that, you have a whole nother moveset that looks crazy overpowered. But y'all have already probably seen this fruit, and obviously it looks amazing, but I want to talk about fruits that we haven't seen. And that's because it's hard for me to believe that we only get 1 fruit with all the time they've been taking for this update. I mean, looking at Venom, you could tell it took a lot of time to make, so it is possible it will be the only fruit we'll be getting, but I'm just gonna assume the best. So the update is supposed to be themed around Impeldown. Obviously Venom is from Impeldown, so that means we could probably assume the other fruits have a high chance of also being from Impeldown. And there's 2 fruits that we already know are partially done and are also in Impeldown, and that's the Chop Chop and the Wax Wax fruit. And for those that don't know, Buggy's already in the game and he has the Chop Chop fruit, so that's where we know the Chop Chop fruit has already been partly done. I think it only has 2 moves though. And then a long time ago we got a sneak for the Wax Wax fruit, but we still haven't gotten the Wax Wax fruit. I'm not exactly sure what their movesets would be, but if you look at Wax Wax, it seems to have some sort of mode, and I think they're going to be really creative with it. Because one thing I never see GPO do bad is creativity with their fruits. Even looking at recent examples like the Snow fruit, the Turret that they add in stuff, it's like really cool to see. And the Wax fruits gives them a lot to play around. They can make like wax guns. We already seen wax clones in One Piece. They just have a lot of versatility, and I don't think they would mess it up. For Chop though, I don't think they have as many opportunities to get creative with it, but I do think it's very simple and it wouldn't be that hard for them to get done. But what I do think is cool about the Chop Chop fruit and Buggy is it's very likely that we'll get another Buggy boss, obviously a harder version within Impeldown, as obviously he plays a big role within the Impeldown arc. And this is part of the reason why I think the Wax fruit is really likely to be added, because the Wax boss would make a lot of sense for the game too. So if you add the fruit, then you could easily make a Wax boss, and we already know they were working on the fruit, so it does make a lot of sense. And you guys might be thinking, why would they have that many bosses? Well, in Impeldown there's 6 levels. It starts off as easier and then every level gets way harder. And as you can see, Buggy is in level 1, so it would make a lot of sense for Buggy to be the first boss on Impeldown. And then in level 2, you see Mr. 3, the Wax Wax guy. And so then it gets a little harder with Wax Wax. For levels 3 and 4, I could see them getting a little more creative since there isn't as many options for them to do. But if they wanted to, they could add Arlong back in level 3 like it says in this graphic. And if they add Arlong back, it doesn't even take any work for them because there's already an Arlong boss in the game. You just gotta copy paste him and give him a little bit more stats. But I would prefer if they would get a little more creative because I don't want to fight the exact same boss as before. But I could just see it happening. But in level 4, then you see Mr. 1. So they could give him a boss on level 4, or they could get more creative with it like I said. But then for levels 5 and 6, they have a ton of characters to work with. I don't know how they could mess that up with that many characters. But hopefully it's actually challenging. But if it's gonna be challenging, it's also gotta be rewarding. And in my opinion, this has been a major issue throughout Grand Pieces. There's not a lot of rewards they can give. The only things they usually give are SP resets, dark roots, or fruits. And none of that really makes a lot of sense for Impeldown. So I hope they do get a little more creative than just giving the same basic drops. But if they do put a bunch of cool weapons, I mean, that's still not bad, but it's just the same thing we have been getting. Although it might not be canon to One Piece, I think it would be cool if they added some sort of like enchantment system or something different, something that's not the same thing, something else we can work for to add more content to Grand Piece, because something clearly needs to change. It's also possible they could add Impeldown as a dungeon, and if I could only pick one, I would prefer Impeldown to be a real island in the real game. But honestly, I think it is pretty doable to make it both, because as you guys know, Dungeons has not gotten an update in a ridiculous amount of time, so it is due for an update. And if they were to make it both, they could maybe change the experience a bit and also reverse the order. And by that I mean maybe in Dungeons, pretend you start at level 6 and you're like a level 6 prisoner trying to break out, compared to in the normal world, obviously you gotta start at level 1 and then go down to level 6. I mean, but who knows what we'll actually get. But now I want to talk about some of the issues we've had with Grand Piece and some stuff that is really easily fixable. And I'm really talking about player count stuff here. For example, I don't know why Grand Piece isn't on mobile yet. I mean, I'm not a game dev, so I don't know how hard it is to bring a game to mobile, but like 80% of Roblox is on mobile, so that's a big portion of the player base. But they need to make sure the game is good for release on mobile, because when it released free, originally it was was super laggy and it was unplayable. And it was also really hard for players to even understand how to play the game because the game is not a beginner friendly game. For example, just to go to the next island, you have to go look up like a YouTube video to where the next island is. I don't know why you can't buy the log post to the next island on the island you're at. I'm personally not a really big fan of super like easy games, but like just adding simple stuff like that to help out new players I don't think could hurt the game and will only help it. But realistically, GPO just needs new, consistent, constant content. And I'm not talking about Battle Royale content, which is funny because I feel like the reason Battle Royale was added was to add some replayable and constant content to Grand Peace. But instead, I feel like it took their attention away from the actual game that people fell in love with. And me personally, I just don't care about Battle Royale. I don't like it. But I made a whole video about Battle Royale specifically if y'all want to watch that. But with all that being said, I do think this update could save Grand Peace if it's as good as it looks like it will be and lives up to the clear potential it has. But I make a ton of these videos all the time, so it would mean a lot if y'all would subscribe and like the video because it helps my channel out a lot, so I would appreciate it. Thank y'all.